Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Pineapple Podcast. Today, I have investor extraordinaire Seth and Jennifer. These guys have been in the real estate space for quite some time and really been accelerating at doing it. I must mention, though, that they come from an entrepreneurial background. And so that drive and inspiration has always been in them. They discovered real estate and they've really been sort of developing their space in terms of doing developments and other interesting strategies in real estate. So we're going to unpack it with them today. And also, I want to mention that Jennifer also has her podcast out in YouTube and wherever else you can get the podcast. Jennifer, what's the name of the podcast?
It's called Building an Empire State of Mind.
Beautiful. Guys, welcome to the Pineapple Podcast. Love having you here today.
Thank you.
So I want to really jump into the real estate space and where you guys have been to. So today, how would you describe the business that you're developing and the strategies that you sort of fallen in love with and you're accelerating on that? Give our viewers a sense of what that is like today.
Yeah, so I think for us, we have two strategies. Locally, where we live, we do development. So we build to sell. And then we've really fallen in love with multifamily, but it's just sort of out of the realm of possibility of cash flow where we live. So invest in New Brunswick. And we've just sort of started looking into the States as well as Alberta.
Oh, incredible. Absolutely incredible. So this is where it is. But like everybody else, like you were doing things before you got into real estate. And for a lot of our viewers as well, sometimes it's the transition into real estate that seems to be daunting, or they feel like, maybe I'm not ready, or maybe I am ready, but there's a lot of doubt, to your point, mindset. So give us a sense of what was that transition like for you when you were making that decision?
Yeah, so you touched on entrepreneurial background. I have an entrepreneurial background. Seth does not. So the transition into leaving his job to be an entrepreneur was much harder on him than it was on me. Um, in terms of real estate, in 2018, we bought our primary residence where we live now, and we ripped it down to the studs and redid everything. And then that refinance just kind of sold it for us. I'm like, look at how much money we just made in, what was it? It was under a year, right? And I'm like, we
Right.
just made more money than both of our jobs combined. And so that was really when I think like the light bulb went off and I was like, okay, so if we just did that once a year, still while working, imagine like how much further ahead we'd be, the life we could provide for, we were expecting our daughter at that time and just, yeah, like the level of
Yep.
comfort we could provide for ourselves. So that was sort of the turning moment when I was like, okay, I got to figure this out.
No, love that story because that is a reality. It's like once you experience what real estate can truly do for you in terms of your future, your financial stability, the fact that you can really grow yourselves exponentially versus an income. The jobs are important. We don't discount that, but we do love the idea of build a plan to move out of it if you can. Because that's where when you talk about financial freedom, when you talk about living your best life, it all depends on how your affordability is. And this is the beauty with real estate, right? It's like if you get into it, nobody says it's easy, but if you do get into it, it pays you like significantly compared to any 9 to 5 environment that you typically are in. So I love the fact that sort of took the chance, you stripped the building down, the house down, and then you rebuilt it, and suddenly the bank is giving you money on the refi, right? And
Yeah.
I just want to mention to people as well, this strategy is typically house hacking where it's your primary home. But the beauty with the refinancing is that you're taking on extra debt. So don't be afraid of it because in reality, the bank might be putting two or $300,000 more into your bank account. And yep, your monthly payment might go from 1,500 to 2,000. But think about the power of that money that is in the bank that you can invest now and continue to grow. So that was your eye opener, right? So I love that. So give us a sense of after that. Now, what did you guys end up exploring or doing in the real estate space?
Yeah. So So we did that and we actually put a suite in our house. So that was kind of our mindset going into the next project. We were like, okay, so we'll just do that again. We'll try to find that split level house. We can add a suite. But then as we started to look in our own market, things were just, we just live in an expensive market. So we
Yes.
essentially had enough money to buy the next house, but then we didn't have the money to do the renovations that it would need in order to add that income suite. So I stumbled upon a training program that was all about other people's money. And I'm like, oh, what does this even mean? What do you mean
Right.
other people's money?
Right.
Yeah, so I joined that in January of 2020. And within that program, learned so much, as well as met a realtor in New Brunswick.
Beautiful.
So we started looking at listings, and I still remember saying to Seth, I'm like, do we think these are real? Like, are the like we just had nothing to
Yeah.
compare it to where we live. Like you don't get duplexes, fourplexes for that amount of money. Even a duplex or a fourplex is an astronomical price where we live, let alone the cash flow, right?
Right.
And yeah, so we decided, well, so I was showing him listings, and I believe his response was, this all looks really good, but like, how much time of mine is this going to take up? I was like, I don't think it's going to take up any of your time. Like, I can do it. I just need the support, right? Like, this is what
Right.
I'm thinking. These are the numbers. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. So we bought our first duplex across the country in March of 2020 when the world was collapsing.
And just for our viewers, let them know where you live and where you're buying.
Yeah, so we live on the West Coast in British Columbia in Canada, and we bought on literally the opposite coast in New Brunswick.
Love it. That's where the market was for you, and you were willing to go there. And that's a beautiful thing because people need to realize don't be afraid to stretch yourselves into the right market. You can always build a team and you can set the business up in the right way. So this is your venture into your real estate, and that's your starting point. But I love what you did is you looked at the numbers, you compared it to what you have to do here. Like in your home market, you need $1, 2, $3 million to get going. And over on the other
Yeah.
side of the country, you can literally start with a couple $100,000, you know.
Yeah.
So that's game changing. And it's good on you to have that insight.
Yeah, it was great. It pushed us to get systems in place because, especially with COVID happening at that time, there was no flying out to view it, right? So we
Right.
really had to rely and establish that relationship with our realtor and, get systems in place, property management, understand how like you're going to manage the property manager. And yeah, it was really great.
Amazing. So once you sort of get your feet wet, so you started with the duplexes and the triplexes, which is great. That's a great cash flowing opportunity there for sure. But today you're doing development. So I'm really excited to understand how did you get from buying your duplexes into the development? And what I love with your development is, as you say, it's build and sell, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, so it all happened within a year. It was very fast. We bought our first duplex in the March, and then we bought fourplex in May and the next fourplex in July. And then I was approached by a gentleman who was creating a mastermind within Canada. So three gentlemen, 30 people in the room. And it was a tough sell. In all honesty, I had never really been exposed to the mastermind world. I didn't really know what he was saying when he was talking about that. And then we started to get on board, and Seth and I had the conversation. I said, there's no way with my personality that I enter into a room 30 like-minded people who at that time were doing way larger things than I was, right? We owned 10 doors, and it was like off the
Yeah.
side of my desk, right? So like there's no way our lives don't change. Like we're going to come out of these 12 months as very different people. Are we ready for that in this journey, but also like in our marriage too, right? Things are going to have to change. I mean, I'm
yep.
sure it's going to be stressful, and we had an 18-month-old daughter.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, there was a lot of there was a lot of chats, and then I ended up joining. So we decided that I would be the lead, as you can probably tell so far by this interview. Um, but it was great because like he's such strong support. So he's like, don't worry, like I'll do dinners, I'll do pickups,
He
you
got you
focus.
covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's make this work, right? And so once we joined, yeah, we did like weekly calls, and then I just naturally gravitated towards another couple who are Chris and Sari. They are a couple years, just like 2 years ahead of us in their journey. And they
Right.
were at the time, yeah, building 2 purpose-built rentals. And I'm like, oh, like, Seth and I were like, oh, maybe we'll build like a house a year. That would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
fun. That would be helpful. And then, yeah, it just, for anyone who knows Sari, be careful what you wish for, because she will make it happen literally the next day. So
Love
right
that.
away, she's like, I'll find you a lot. You can build a duplex. I'm like,
Yep.
oh, I'm like, can
Yep.
we?
And
And then,
yep, I was going to say
yeah,
they were also a guest on our Pineapple podcast here. So for viewers, please check them out. Their story is truly inspiring.
yes, yeah.
And
Yeah,
they're
and
good friends of yours.
basically,
I love that. So you connected with
yeah,
people sort of like just by the law of attraction because you were uncertain about everything, but you said, I'm going to give it a go.
yeah. And so she basically offered up Chris's services to walk us through the project. Seth comes from a construction background. He was always in the construction industry, doing his
Beautiful.
electrical ticket, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then this time we were both in government. So it meant him leaving his job and being on site and, not working for a site super, being the site super, right? And
Right.
managing and running all those trades. Yeah. And at that time he was only like 29, right? So he
Right.
dealt with a lot of the trades just being sort of like, who are you? Why are you telling me what to do? Sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's been a challenging journey on his end. But yeah, we bought it. We decided we were going to do this duplex. And then Sari sent us this listing, and it was bare land and zoned for 9 townhouses. And she's like, so do you guys think you want to do this legit and like JV on this? I'm like,
Why us?
yeah, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then Seth's like, well,
Right.
why did they want us? I was like, I have no idea. Just sign the paper and let's figure
Let's
that
do
out
it.
later, right? So
Right.
yeah, and then it just snowballed from there, just being, and I mean, 9 seemed crazy. Like I still remember feeling very overwhelmed by 9, right? Like, how are
Right.
we going to make 9 work? How? And then it was like, okay, there's 4 of us, figure it out. We are all smart
Absolutely.
individuals. We have resources. We'll figure it out, right?
Yeah,
And
no, I
then,
love that. Absolutely. I mean, I know the story you're going, but let's understand the impact of the power in proximity. So you associated with Chris and Sari, and look at what the opportunity just brought by just that association, right? And yeah, you question whether it's legit, whether it's why is she bringing such an amazing deal, but the fact is you've shown up and you were there and you had a conversation and people follow through, and so now opportunities are just being showing up as it is meant to be when you really encompass that mindset and law of attraction, right? So you guys were bringing into your lives the things that you needed in order to prosper in the real estate space. So I love that attraction. And even though you had the self-doubt, you were still pushing ahead. Like you said, sign that paper, man. You're like, let's just get
yeah,
going here.
yeah.
Love it. So walk us through what that looked like in your first experience. That's a pretty big development when you really think about where you're starting out, right? So how was that experience with you guys as well?
Yeah, so that one's actually under construction right now. So we did it's 9 units
Yep.
throughout 4 buildings. So we kind of have staggered them.
Right.
We found out that you can't control the municipality or the district and how long they're going to take to review development permits and issue building permits. So definitely
Absolutely.
be over prepared for delays. Yeah, I mean, within that process, we built a duplex as well. So because we didn't have the development permit aspect.
Right.
And yeah, we just learned a lot. We learned, about going out for quotes, talking to suppliers. This is what we're doing right now. This is what we have in the future. I really focused on like building relationships so that we don't have to always be getting quotes, right? We just have our team and that's who's going to build for us, and they know that we won't stray and they'll just provide the best pricing.
Yeah, no, I love that for sure. And for people who are looking at this and wondering, well, okay, I'm new to development. What does that really look like? I'd love if you could share with us what is the process like. What's the first thing you do after you kind of secure the deal or the land? Like, what are the steps and who are the people you tend to find in order to make this such a viable opportunity for people?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely lots of consultants. You need, so in a development permit, you need a landscape architect. You need someone who's going to be able to read the zoning and give you the highest best use for density wise. You need
Right.
a design to do the plans. Essentially, with the development permit, they want everything so that they
Yes.
can see how the full development is going to turn out. And then you individually submit for building permit. So you have to do things like telecommunications. Where do you need a hydro pole? Is it underground? How are you going to service all the units? Bringing in services, right? Water,
Mhm.
sewer, everything that like you see in your house that's just like there by osmosis. Yeah, all of that, right? Like
Yes.
where the water box is going to be. Are you going to have individual water meters? There's there's a lot.
That's right. There is a lot, and that's why it's important. I mean, you having live in the space now to share with people like what's the process to get into a development, because you're right. But the beauty with planning, even though it takes the time, remember it's much cheaper to change a plan, to correct a plan, to scratch its lines off, and do whatever you want on the planning stage. Because when it's built, it is built, and there's no changing it at that point in time. So
For
I share that it is frustrating at times, especially with the city reviews, because they take their time. They might find one issue, they send it back to you, you correct it, you send it to them, they find a new issue. And with the city, they have certain timelines to receive and to give back to you. So they really honestly stretch everything. I mean, you're out in the BC market and having that issue. We sit here in Ontario and we're having the same issue where timelines that should take 6 months is taking a year, 2 years sometimes, just to get back paperwork from them. And then they want to wonder, why do we have a housing shortage? It's not because of lack of builders like yourself. It's simply the city and the government just sort of delaying that process, whether it's resourcing, it's capability, or it's just the fact that that's how they've set it up to be inefficient compared to a private sector model. That's just the way it is. So until that can be changed or get more efficient, then we're in that boat of let's plan 2 or 3 years and then hope we deliver in 2 years, right? So I love
sure.
that sharing. That jumped out to me because it seems the more people I speak to who's in the development side, we're all experiencing all of that. Delay, 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 with really no sort of true sense of accountability on the part of the reviewer. Like, you should review everything because you have the plans, review everything, give us one letter, all the deficiencies, get that fixed, and it goes back to you. But when you're delaying and 3, 4 weeks, you have to wait and wait on each issue, you end up having the opportunity to build a duplex.
Yeah, I think the frustrating part about that too is that they just don't understand the financial component to a development project. Like every month is X amount. And if you're taking 2 years to review a development permit, well, that's how housing prices are increasing, right? Like, yes, it's supplies, but it's also all of those fees. Like, all of that is accumulating into the project cost. And I mean, the developer is still going to make money, right? I mean, or else they're just working as a volunteer, right? So when people look at housing prices, they're continuously increasing. it's unfortunately due to that as well.
That's right. And the media and the government have a very funny way of saying it's foreign buyers and it's other people, and so let's put a tax here and let's put a tax there. No, just become efficient, you know.
Yeah.
And I love the sharing because this is real. Like this is two developers right now having a heart to heart about the experiences of working with the building permit departments. But this is the reality that you will face, so come prepared. And to your point, builders make money. Yeah, they absolutely do. But the cost could definitely be reduced because carrying costs on developments tend to be a very high interest. So 1 year or 2 years can be quite significant. And obviously, that has to be recovered. They're not in the
Yeah.
business, to your point, to not pay their staff and not pay their workers and not put food on the table for their families, or to get that better quality life that they're working so hard for. So it's a reality. It's like the cost gets up there simply because we have too much burden with the time, and time is money in real estate. So I love the fact that you're sharing that. There's nothing more real than this, guys. So be prepared to become a land developer. It's romantic and it's exciting and it's frustrating at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
One thing I love your opinion on this because I often tell people, if you really want to know what it's like to be alive and to feel every emotion you can feel, become a developer. You're
Yes.
excited, you're frustrated, you're happy, you're joyous, you're mad. Like it all, you want to know what life is, what your body does? Do this, right?
And all those emotions could all be in the same day,
That's right.
right? Like it's just an emotional roller coaster. Yeah.
Absolutely. Imagine you'll have Seth shouting at people too, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my God. But
Nicely
that
going.
no, but this is the reality. It's like, you know what? Real estate is not easy. If it was, everybody would do it. But if you can embrace finding people around you, whether it's masterminds, communities, coaches, tribes, people to invest with, you know, that's game changing because that's how you can develop. Because of communities, because of the fact that we've connected, because of relationships with other people and things like that, today we can develop these things and do these bigger projects that would not be possible otherwise. And the reason why I want to make that clear with people is developments was always reserved for the big companies, the big developers, the brand names out there that really owns the market. But every single deal, one deal can change your life. You know, one deal can, like you said, you just strip down your house, you made so much money that it will take you years to work towards that. Now you have 9 unit development. When that is done, even though you went through all of the frustrations, the the ending is really powerful because now there's tremendous value. There's something that you can pass by, drive by every day for years to come. Your kids can drive past that place and, yep, mom and dad built that, right? Like, how cool is
Yeah.
that?
It's very cool, the conversation. So now our kids will be 5 and 2 in August. So Stella, our oldest, is
Yeah.
definitely on site running her own little show, but just it's just so cool to hear from school. Someone came up to me and they're like, "So, does your husband like actually build houses?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Stella talks about him all the time. Like, my daddy's building a house today." I'm like, "That is just so cool how proud she is already at 5, right?" So, yeah, I'm excited for the conversations and what continues to happen with our kids through our journey and showing them this crazy different way of life.
Absolutely. And it sounds like she'll be taking over the marketing division when she gets a little bit older.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that, guys. So the building side is basically what you guys enjoy and love. So give us a sense of what does the future look like with your company?
Yeah, so on the building side, we will be building for quite some time. We have a 46 unit and a 71 unit townhouse development coming up pretty soon. My belief is
Incredible.
that we'll probably get those development permits at the same time, because why would the universe not work like that, right? And
Yeah.
then you to marry that with buying multifamily. I really like multifamily just for how it's a business and you can really manipulate the numbers to get the desired, well, not manipulate, but change your building's numbers to
Right.
get the desired outcome you want. Whereas, even with development, you're selling individual units and you're relying on appraisals and comp. And so,
That's
yeah,
right.
we've both seen the power behind multifamily, and we just really like both strategies, like where we are being able to be on site and be involved in the developments, and then taking our money and buying those multifamily.
Yeah, no, I love that space myself as well because I am quite diversified and the multifamily is very interesting, but it's funny enough, we're focused on the same sort of pathway as you. It's multifamily investing and developments. Those are the two, how should I say? It's a little bit more advanced sort of strategy, but it's also quite unique, quite exhilarating, frustrating, but well rewarding at the same time. So
Yeah.
you got to learn it. Obviously, you guys are on the pathway of really being a leadership role now, and you can bring people forward or along with you. But I found that you want to get into these exciting strategies. Find yourself somebody to help you, a mentor, a coach, somebody that can help develop you much faster. It's worth every investment, time and money that you can put in because the rewards are incredible. But don't, necessarily go it alone because you want to just make sure you're doing it right because the risk is real. The fact that you could also lose a lot is real. So to minimize that and minimize your risk, education, knowledge, an association of people who've been there and done that. Because now with this whole community of, just Facebookers and Instagram and all these people, there's reached a lot of people who are always willing to share their experience and to help bring people along. Because what I found is the real estate market is such a huge market that you and I, even though we're in the same strategy, we could never compete with each other because the market can bear it where your share of nine houses is probably that within $6 trillion of real estate, right? So
Yeah.
the power is really in helping each other, and that's one of the things too I want to kind of touch base on is I know there's a reach out, people can reach out with you. You also have your podcast up and running because you also enjoy the give back, right? So share with us a little bit about how people can reach you and what is the give back that you like focusing on and things like that.
Yeah, so I'm mostly on Instagram, so you can always just send me a DM on there. It's Jennifer underscore champion underscore. Seth is, I mean, he's on Instagram, but he's not really there. You can probably message him and he'll respond. It's Seth Champ.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. You can come to site. I'll be at site if
Yeah.
you're ever out in suit. Come
Yeah.
stop by.
Nice. And I will put all of your contact information in the comments below so people can definitely connect with you guys. So, as you know, I really, really enjoyed this episode. I love the fact that we had a heart to heart and we got to vent a little bit too, but
Yeah.
it's really sharing experiences and knowledge with people. So for those people that are coming into the space, they want to grow, they want to develop. What would be some of the, sort of parting advice that you'd like to give people?
Yeah, I think if you're already in real estate and you're looking at development as an opportunity, I would definitely have that base. Like have your rental properties so that they're paying you, so that even if something happens that you didn't plan for in your pro forma or anything like that in development, you're still okay so that you don't, that's like less stress, right?
Yes.
And then yeah, go out and find education, right? I know Chris and Sari and Darren Boros, they have a land development boot camp like the first week of June, but research those people. Like there's people out there who are teaching it, or find someone who's, a level up from you and ask if they want to partner. You know, it'll I think it'll surprise people how open people are, to, talking to them, directing them in the right direction, or you never know, partnering, right? Like, you don't know what you can bring to the table for them.
Absolutely. Love that. Thank you guys so very much for sharing. I know the time goes by quickly. We got to come back here again and we'll maybe chat about multifamily on the next trip. So to our viewers, once again, guys, thank you for tuning in on the Pineapple Podcast here, where it's all about being tough on the outside, sweet on the inside, and wearing your crown of gratitude proudly. Take care, guys. Until the next time.
Yeah.